My name is Donnell Davis, and this is another video via the Blue Room. Tonight's videos is going to be two videos on the same topic, the complicated relationship. The first is going to be focusing on people in relationships just like that. You find yourself giving yourself to somebody, they constantly cheating on you. You don't really know what to do. You get emotions tied up into it, and things just end up being very badly. I've been in something similar, a few situations similar, and caused it once myself. But we all grow with these experiences and learn to love who we are and love our spouses. At least that's what it is in theory. There are plenty of people whom are beyond the age of 40 whom still have the mindset of someone who's in a teen years and young adult years. So maturity is a state of mind rather than the age that is supposed to come with wisdom. So without further ado, this is my advice for those who find themselves in relationships in which they find themselves cheated on or feel unworthy, and hopefully this explains your scenario and my experience may help. First off, you have to really establish in the beginning what the relationship is. The first 6 months of any relationship is very critical. So you break this down in the halves within those months. Within the first 3 months, a slip up here and there isn't uncommon. People tend to have to get over still being single. And so, it's just sometimes the temptations of the flesh will be given in. And within the first 3 months, ideally, you're not living with said person you're interested in. So there will be you have a lot more open room, so to say. And most times in 3 months in a relationship of being exclusive, when it's just the two of you, by then those things do tend to happen the most when it's earliest. So you can keep an eye open on that. Obviously, if it's happening, maybe give it the James Bond rule: you only live twice. So once, perhaps, maybe you can forgive. Twice, maybe even. But if it's happening a third time, then you're more likely dealing with the person whom isn't ready for something committed. And in the latter 3 months, from 3 to 6, this is probably the most, after the first 3 would be considered the honeymooner period. The next 3 should be to get to know period, to get to know the ins and outs of the person that you're with, and how the future will play out for you. Mainly the things to talk about is future goals. You definitely want to be someone that shares your common goals and interests in terms of where they want to be in life, as opposed to, they don't want, cops with cops, firefighters or firefighters, so to say. So if you're going to college and want to aspire to be something, an ideal match would be someone with similar career goals and aspirations. As we all know, when you get with someone on the opposite end of the spectrum, where they're not quite so motivated, they tend to leech off of a motivated person who's trying to get things for themselves. Now, you've been together for past those 6 months. This is where everything should be fully established, and now here on in you start to establish yourself. Maybe consider moving in, even though it's still a bit on the quick side, but a lot of people tend to do that. And you find yourselves living together and find coexisting to be pleasant at first, but then things slowly start to turn where the holding hands aren't quite as much, the sex isn't happening quite as often, and it seems like you're growing apart without really doing anything at all. And it's like, what do you do? Well, first off, as I've learned through experience, especially with matters of trust, it's not good to live in the realm of paranoia, even if the evidence is starting to be there that you're dealing with a cheater. I mean, I've gone looking for clues too, and those clues led to what I wanted, but rarely what I wanted was what I wanted to find. The only reason I say, let the scenario play out is simply because you don't want to cause any due harm to yourself or cause the scene because a lot of people fail to take into consideration things like living arrangements. For instance, if you have a lease where you are on it but you already have an apartment, you move your spouse in, but they never sign the lease, that you're on the hook for everything on your own. So the thing is, simple things like that, or having a dispute if one of the partners has kids living in the home, and it's not good to do those things. But for the most part, this only will actually be about maybe 25% of people who have the sort of willpower to see something bad happening and actually not act on it in a violent way. Because if you look at police reports, not everybody who does domestics get arrested, but it's quite a bit of them out there that happens. Or in a whole slew more that just never get reported at all. So try not to find yourself acting solely on those emotions to try to confront somebody, because lo and behold, that may end up being the surprise for you in the end about seeing underwear that's foreign in the house. But you'd have to obviously find tags on them, and usually in the cheater's sense, that's usually not the case. So you find your said evidence, you have the confrontation, things end out badly. Now the second video is going to be a little bit more into that, but this video is focusing on the person whom is cheated on and what they should do in terms of pursuing in the relationship. The first thing I would advise in the confrontation is the follow-up talk with when everything is going to come down. Now, while this may seem common sense that you cool your tempers, just some people don't do that. They react off emotions and trying to catch them up in a lie. If you truly care about somebody and you really feel that it was a mistake, then it's worth talking out. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you happen to forgive a person who's cheated on you multiple times up until this point, this has become a habit-forming thing, and it probably won't change with the acceptance of it repeatedly happening. And you're on a cycle that isn't going to change until you actually leave it and force that person to grow into somebody whom can be faithful. And 9 times out of 10, it won't be you that ends up being able to rehabilitate a person like that, because they are comfortable in the situation and in the skin that they're in with you putting up with said behavior. Also, that it also depends on the attitude in which the person responds when you do confront them. Now, if the person that's with you is genuinely sincere on keeping the relationship going, they will do either one of two things. One, they'll approach you without having said anything at all. Or if they're just too are not the bold kind who can't admit mistakes, their mistake, a confession definitely I did one about the Maury Show. It's definitely better to handle these things at home, but a confession, no matter being honest, helps mend those things. Now, if you see one of these two scenarios, and there's probably a few others that I'm not thinking of at the time, but if you find yourself in one of those two scenarios, then it may be something worth salvaging, because it's lies that ruin trust more than cheating does. People have been having sex outside of their relationships for ages. So to think that it wouldn't exist today would just be absurd. But a lie is something that's detrimental. People who lie about small things oftentimes are found having difficult relationship because then their mate starts thinking that they're lying about bigger things. Now, now on the flip side of this, if your spouse has cheated on you and when you go to confront them, they are flat out in denial, then this could possibly mean that whomever they're cheating with, they have a special connection with, and they're not trying to actually get rid of it. And you have the choice whether or not to pursue it, or simply just say, look, if you're not, or give the ultimatum. If the reaction continues to be friction, then it would be best to have a cool-off period where you have some time away to let the be apart. Because obviously, the person that you're with is at the point where they want that without having to give up where they're at. So you become a bit of convenience in terms of a place to lay their head at night in case it doesn't happen to work out with the person who they are creeping with. Now, the other scenario is if they blame you, saying such things as, well, you're not around enough, you work all the time, and you really are doing something positive. Now, this ain't going to be no addict thing to where people are just looking for reasons to combat. If you're seriously putting in effort to try to make things work, and you're doing things that you are supposed to be doing, shopping, hanging out with friends and being truthful about it, and they're finding some sort of way to pin their mistake on you, then they obviously have gotten into the idea in their head that they've already gained the ability to control you, and it's not something that's going to be worth salvaging. Because, like before with the multiple cheats, this would be the flip side without a person having to cheat a whole lot. They just simply feel that a superiority complex with you, and you have to have the strength to be able to stand for yourself. Now, while this advice may not work for everybody, especially those who are weak of will, meaning if you do not have the power and strength within yourself to make that sort of move, then this advice probably won't work for you. And to find that internal strength, you have to look a little bit deeper. But just know that each and every one of us, even every life on this planet, has something special to offer. But it's not right to take advantage, but it is equally not right to allow yourself to be trampled on. And it's not right to be doing the trampling on somebody. Because these are hearts. People end up fighting and dying over matters of love and complicated relationships and things, and hopefully this advice will put people in the perspective who are currently in a complicated relationship. They get a little bit more peace of mind and a little bit of light on how to truly handle it. And if this advice has helped you, I thank you for watching, and if you've made it to the end of this video, I give you 2 likes. Thank you much, and please subscribe.